Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March Rec and Parks Board meeting. First on our agenda is going to be the minutes from our February meeting. Did everybody review the meeting? The minutes, excuse me. Do we have a motion to approve them?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second?
I'll second.
Anybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meetings are approved, minutes are approved. All right, first on the agenda for new business is County Field Maintenance Plan. The main purpose of this is to get some information from Arthur for our letter to the commissioner. I just want to make sure that we were on the same page as he was. So when we asked for the money, we're on the same page, because I'm sure all they're going to do is just turn around and ask the commissioner. Do we have anything else on this? Did you want to talk more, anything on this? Do we want to talk about the groundskeepers and when we can get them?
The director, I'm a little confused on the annual recruiting cost of $390,000. And the reason I'm asking that question is because I think that it had been noted it was like $15,000 some odd dollars, not included for one seasonal maintenance person. The yearly cost would be under $100,000. So when you use the term recruiting cost, what are you referring to?
Well, you have a recurring cost and one-time cost. Recurring cost, when you have an addition to your budget, whether it's $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, it's that amount every year thereafter. Or if not, a salary increase, they're recurring costs, as opposed to putting lights on a field, that's a one-time cost.
So that 390,000 is the 65,000 times 6.
That's correct.
People.
Right. Yes.
Well, that's, yeah, or ever how many you want, 65 times how much you think, or you put in your letter that you want to do. Well, so Don, Mr. DeGraves, the issue there then is, this is a groundkeeper, this is a full-time groundkeeper. This isn't an hourly one. So, you know, I could even do the math for you quickly. If you went 2,000 hours times $15 an hour, it's 30,000. Your benefits aren't as much. 35,000 times 6, you'd be talking about 210,000 a year times 6.
So this is for a 12-month-a-year person, not a March to November seasonal grounds.
Yeah, this is a full-time staff person in the park.
Okay.
And so the hourly rate, you can set it as high as 20 hours and say, hey, what we're asking is an hourly employee at $20 an hour. I'm just making it because it's an even number. Right. And 1,000 hours a year, that would be 20,000. 6 is 120,000 a year.
Okay, so this figure is based on a full-time staff person.
Benefited, pension, hospitalization, what we
12 months out of the year.
That's correct.
Not a groundskeeper on the for just a seasonal groundskeeper from March through November, which is when their tenure is during that period of time.
Correct.
So it will be much less for a part-time person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have the full-time person, they'll do other things in the park. They would take care of the park all year long.
Yeah. And that's part of the plan and why it takes a moment. Because again, you go to Laurel Springs, full-time people there, well, they don't have a grass cutting contract anymore. So you have to measure that against how much are we saving on a grass cutting contract, and then it's being done here, because when you have full-time staff in there, but then you have the initial buyout equipment. So you got to put all that in your equation to see how it's going to come out and what those numbers and what you're looking for.
One other question, would the groundskeeper also be the person that would be able to let people onto the field, control the fields?
Yeah, and you're still going to need additional staff, because you're going to be there. What does it take to get it ready, work the park, work the fields, and then also have staff there in the evenings and those different things, and for double headers doing other fields. Charles, they have a pretty good extensive evening staff group there. Yeah. The only difference is there's 2 ways to do it. One's through the general fund and one's through the user fee, and a lot of theirs it's a little bit of both. It's a hybrid situation in Charles.
So presently your proposal is not to request this until the 2024 budget.
Correct.
And the 2024 budget you would be proposing would be for full-time people, not for seasonal people.
Probably what I'll do is have 3 options, is I like to do options, so that, that way the question's already answered. I would come in and say, okay, this is what a full-time group doing this with this type of equipment, now you have this money. Here's another option, then an A, B, and C options for commissioners, or even for you in your discussion. Here's the different plans, and get what happens.
My personal opinion is all of the costs are irrelevant for me, because we're looking just for the outcome of the requests of the organization, the community. So whether it's contracted out or not, that's going to be for Mr. Shepherd to have to figure out based on what the commissioners want to do. For us, it's more so as just putting out there
As soon as
what the need is, what the need is, and saying that regardless of how it's resolved,
Right.
there's a need for, liability of equipment on the parks and, someone there to unlock the gates. How that's figured out is ultimately going to, Mr. Shepherd's going to know best how to figure that out, and where the money comes from, how many people, is it full-time, is it a benefited employee, and all that. I think our desire is to just express that here's the need,
Yeah, and we need it as soon as
and
possible.
we need it as soon as possible.
For the
What-
safety of the kids.
Yeah, I think that's and not have to get into the weeds of, is it reoccurring and does it full benefited and so forth.
Well, the reason I was asking you, Joe, because the needs of the parks based on the time of the year is a little different, and the expense would be a lot different. That was the only reason I was asking the question.
Sure.
Because the expense would be $100,000 a year for 6 people. If it were on a March to November is when they increase staff, is my understanding, for seasonal help, not for full-time help. So that was the reason I was asking the question.
Sure.
It obviously would be a lot lower than $390,000.
I think the question was for us to get the information. Do you have enough
Yeah,
information
yeah.
for what you wanted?
Yep.
You have he
Yeah.
just divided if it was a part-time and stuff like that. Okay.
And I'm certainly available, email or phone call to help if any additional is needed, where those numbers come, and
Yeah.
as Mr. DeGray says, is it 6 months or 5 months? What is it generally boiling down to be, and how many hours do you think it takes? I can help, I can help with that.
I think we're just, like Joe said, our big concern is the big picture is that the parents shouldn't be dragging the fields and doing all that stuff. We need to fix that as soon as possible, just for the safety of the kids. And
Correct. I mean, I think there's a concern that it's not happening this spring, but I think that's reasonably understood that we're in this current year.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger concern is knowing that it's not even in this upcoming year, it's put off another year after that, which essentially doesn't confirm that it's ever going to happen in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bigger concern. If it's not even going to happen for this spring, which is desperately needed, it's not in line to even be proposed for the next spring at this point.
Yeah. Outside of this particular need, I want to ask a question in regards to turf fields that are already established. I understand in doing some reading, and I'm ignorant on it, but how often do they need to be cleaned, and is there a special piece of equipment that needs to be purchased to do that?
Each field has, well, no, not each field, each of the parks has a groomer, and that moves the infill around. The infill is the rubber inside. It moves that around, a groomer. And then the second field, we got what you received, a litter cat, and that's to pick up the debris, leaves, things left on the field. So that's why we got one of each, with 2 fields at each of the sites. That way, we each of them get that care. You're probably going to put the groomer out about once a month, and the litter cat as needed. So it depends, here come this last fall, you have to get it out more, leaves and different things, and especially depends on where you are. Chaptico, not as much, but over there at that wooded area and that one in zone at Lancaster, you do. So we have both machines. They came with the initial cost. And groomer, litter cat, 1 month for the groomer, litter cat as needed. And we're not on them that much, the litter cat that much.
So were those groomers included in the
Yeah.
original $7 million, over $7 million?
That's right.
Okay. And they're in each one of the parks where there's a, okay.
And each one of the schools
Who-
have one, right?
Yes, well, I'm assuming that.
Yeah, that's not us, though.
I didn't know if that's part of your job.
Well, no. So what happens is that comes with the field. So when, we're asking, I was asking that, because, remember, that was brand new to me, and I was asking, oh, you get one that comes with it. So then that's when my mind said, oh, we're getting an additional field at Chancellor's. Instead of getting another groomer, let's get that other machine, so we'll have both machines on site, and that's why we have both at the 3 parks. Now, at your high school, since you only have one site,
Right.
one field, you're only getting one of them, so you might have to ante up and get the second machine.
So,
Oh, no.
so who operates those?
The full-time park staff.
And that's from staff that's already on payroll?
Correct. No,
Increase anything for them fields, right?
no,
We give
not
them-
that.
We
No,
didn't hire anybody else.
No. A matter of fact, we, could reduce grass cuts. There was grass cuts reduced, field markings reduced,
Okay, anybody have any more questions, or?
Are we going to talk about what we think needs to be done with the cost? I mean, are we going to say we want a full-time employee? Because one of the things we were looking at was to make sure we have people there to clean up for pickleball and for all the other different
Yeah.
sports,
Well,
all the different things. I just don't want to just run into
Yeah,
one
I think-
sport, yeah.
That would be the consensus, is that these people that are hired handle all the fields, right?
But if you're only looking for March through to November, what happens through that other time?
Well, again, I think we don't necessarily focus as much on the full-time or not, but say, okay, we would like someone to be staffed
Yeah.
every day.
Right.
No, every day, I said every day during the week, a weekend, whatever, from 8, whatever the time is,
Right.
to provide access to the fields, to be there for, I think that's what aside from the field maintenance, which is occurring on, the turf fields, but like those things that you're mentioning would be relevant. That's just, I want to play, and it's a Saturday, and the field's open, and there's someone on staff that has the key that opens it up.
Right.
And I think that's the kind of the list that we're looking to
Yeah.
kind of request.
And assist all the people like the pickleball people
Sure,
and all
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And same with the disc, out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Okay.
Fred, in looking at the pickleball part of it, the windscreen for $4,000, how many years did they, what's the expectations on how many years is that
Well, we're not.
they last?
Yeah, we're not too good on that yet, Don, because there's different makes, and then also there was one out there that we had to let go of because when a strong storm came, it buckled your fence.
Okay.
So we learned the hard way. So now our term limits, I'll get back to you on that. Let me write that down. What is it? What is the?
Yeah, I was reading that some of these go up to like 6 and 7 years for this kind of expense. Does that sound way out of the question or what?
No, I think you could. I think you could get a good term out of that. But I'll get that one back, and I'll get it even back before.
And
the
that was
next meeting.
4,000 just for one screen,
That
right?
per screen. And then that's why I didn't say, because nobody's decided where we're going to need them, but I think there's 3 courts that most people want them on. And then, tenant, they're going to want them on all of them once you get into the screen business.
Yeah.
I mean, that only makes sense. And then and that's just one field for one tennis court for a surface upgrade is about $60,000.
Now-
And we're getting ready to do a surface upgrade at Cardinal Gibbons in FY23.
Is there feeling, did you get out a conversation I didn't, whether they feel they need windscreens at all their sites or just particular sites?
I don't know if they,
I'm not sure.
if they actually said. I don't know if they were specific. I think he just said they would like.
Well, to me, and what I heard, and what, now you remember the director, what he's thinking, is that not all the sites have that kind of volume and that kind of play.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
so, you again, Chancellor's, Baggett, there's, so there could be, but not every one of them would need it.
I assume the ones that are way out more.
And then, so you say, well, then how do you do that? Well, the 4 most, let's say, I'm just off the top of my head, 4 most popular, and then on the windy days, then, that's where you'll have to go, most likely leave your one that is kind of yours because it's not as played as much on, and then go to the,
Yeah.
Another thing that they came up, that they came out with was a conversation about benches. What do you think they're going to be referring to, like a bleacher type of thing or some actual benches? What do you think they're referring to?
I don't remember
there?
hearing benches, but I think the same, your just seat.
Probably just
no back
something
bench.
inside for them to sit on.
Yeah, Yep, just
tie
something
their
inside,
shoes.
gather, you got it.
I don't think a big crowd show up to watch them play pickleball. I think they're talking inside, like,
Put their equipment on.
yeah, sit down and put their.
A player
equipment
bench.
on, or take a drink in
Yeah.
between games or matches or whatever they're called.
Yeah, one of the other things they brought up, Fred, was porta pots. I know that there's been I attended the February 7th field organizers meeting, and I forget, I believe it was lacrosse or, well, not that it really matters. The people that brought it up was bathroom facilities both up and down where the fields are at. I think you may remember it, Director. I think that your reply was that you were looking into the future to install bathrooms at 2 different locations at Chancellor's Run, because they pointed out how long it takes to get from those fields
Yeah.
all the way to the baseball diamond area. So could you tell us what your thoughts are on the installation of that type of project when you propose it?
So again, let me start back. So we've just put in a new bathroom at Dorsey. We put a new outdoor restroom at Lexington Manor Passive Park. Those were done by the same company. Those 3 spots, male and female, so I'm gonna call them spots, between urinals and toilets there, 2 sink bathrooms. So those are pretty good sized bathrooms. And we had them done, 1 on a well, 1 on public water. So now we're looking at getting a cost quote. We haven't gotten that back, but in the interim, went out and got quotes from the turnkey restrooms that they come in, they build away and come in and set on your site. And those are going to be, I'm going to say for now, and then we're going to reduce the size because you already have restrooms on that site. So we'll put like two over there. A building that has 2 restrooms, 2 locked doors, so you're not sharing a restroom. They're both locked, both sides, so you have 2 at a time, baby changing stations in both of them. And I think you can get them in for probably about, then some of the fees we haven't arrived, I think you can get them in maybe for about $150 a piece. So you'd be spending $300,000 there.
When would you expect to look at something like that being possible to get put in? Because we have 2 organizations that are saying, hey, there's a need. And if you look at pickleball right now, they're talking about 500 members. If you look at St. Mary's Little League, they got 1,000 players. So, as this thing keeps on going on, I was reading another article where 4.8 million people are playing pickleball. And, the look at doubling that, over the next 2 and 3 years is going to pick up. And certainly if that were to double in 2 or 3 years here in the county, you're looking at a program that's going to be as big as Little League at 1,000 players. You follow me? Which is
You already
pretty
have
much
the approval for that. I mean, isn't that moving forward?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
That's not a budgeted money.
So my question is, could it be possible during a what will be an interim period, that maybe they might be accommodated by a portable unit because, there's a need there. As much as we wouldn't want to see porta pots on our fields, there's obviously a need down at the soccer end, the other end for soccer, as well as pickleball courts, and tennis courts.
Yeah, and clarify 2 things. The restrooms are still open at the Loeffler Center. They, don't always have to go up, but we still, so I'm letting you know, I do understand totally. But in our last budget work session, we might be able to move something up for these 2 restrooms.
Okay.
And then both being on water and sewer, not having to go through the perk and all the permitting, that can happen a whole lot quicker than what you think. Those can come in soon.
So specifically, my question would be, could you consider porta pots in those 2 areas of Chancellor's Run during an interim period to take care of the access problem that's being mentioned by both programs, soccer, I guess, lacrosse. I mean, anybody playing on those fields has the same problem, as well as tennis, as well as pickleball. Could that be a possibility?
Well, it could. I don't know if I like that one for me, because I'd have to look around the fairness, because if you look at some of the parks, some people still have ways to go to. So see what we're going to do as far as a restroom plan, because if I'm at Cardinal Gibbons and I got to go there, so are you going to build another one here? So let me get into that, but certainly totally understood. And then I think help is on the way in the long term soon.
I think
I think that there's been tournaments in those locations that they've brought those in just for those events. Is that usually the organizations that do that? Or
Yeah, sometimes we do. The organization,
The big
if they want
events,
to bring them in,
a lot of times
they
that may be
can
enough.
do that. But help is on the way. I believe that. And then also just to get back and look at a plan with what is the distance and what the park load and all that. But I certainly understand. Certainly am not saying no.
Right, okay.
Don't want
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else to add on to the county field maintenance plan?
I had, I guess I'm going to bring it up now. Also, one of the things that was brought up at the meeting I attended the 7th, someone from one of the organizations brought up something that was brought up at our last meeting in regards to public access to the turf fields. And the county was pointed out that by the director that the only one that there was access to by the public at this particular time, I can be corrected on his remark, but was Chances Run Regional Park, because there was full-time maintenance staff there. And that question came up. I don't know if the director recalls that question coming up by the ground people on that time. And the same answer, throughout the whole park system was that there's no supervision there, maintenance supervision, whatever we want to call it, to give them access, because they're locked, they're locked facilities, right? So,
Turf fields,
so that's besides the board, asking that question. It was brought up by field organizers as to that access for the public. And the other question I would have along those lines is, when we rent out the pavilion areas, there's access to the ball fields because there's no gates on the fields. Would they have access if they weren't being used, obviously, for the turf fields too, when they rent their pavilions? How does that work? Because I know I remember, years ago that not necessarily when you were director, that question came up, and the directors wanted the parks to be open that were like adjacent to the pavilions for people to use for activities. And obviously, there's locked gates on the turf fields. So I guess the question is, do they have, or can they ask for access with that permit
With a little bit
payment they're making?
a little bit more to that payment they can.
Okay, well, I don't know that, but
Yes.
But at the same time, they're allowed. We've got open gates on the baseball and softball fields, and organizations are saying, that's not really a good thing, because animals go in there and take care of their business, and then we have to clean it up. So it's sort of a catch-21 for both situations.
It is. But, the value in trying to keep them on and in the use, I just.
The last thing I had in relationship to the park staff, I'm talking about the park staff that is covered by the players' fee. Do they take any kind of a course on problems resolution or anything like that in relationship to what their activities are?
This will be is it the third or fourth? So I started with Tyrone to get that first hourly staff training. Saturday, March 12th is hourly staff training for the staff in the parks, and part of that is de-escalation. And each year we've had the captain of the sheriff's office, whether it be Captain Hall or Captain Gray, come with the de-escalation training each year. And we also bring that to our youth basketball program as well, that training.
Can one of us, could we attend that if we, on the 12th of March? Well, if we wanted to, just let you know.
If you plan on volunteering, working in the park, sure. Just teasing. Come on out.
Just so we know.
Come on out. I'll be there.
Yeah, I remember we've talked about that before, about the de-escalation training that they get. Yeah,
Yeah, that was very beneficial.
yeah, especially,
Goes over scenarios, everything.
and it's going to be even bigger this summer when people are out at the beach more because
It is.
stuck inside.
That
So
whole park
everybody gonna want it for
operation
the
has
beach same time.
just grown exponentially very fast. And a couple of the other best thing we have is the radios in the parks. Those 911 radios that go from Ridge to
Yeah.
5th District and can communicate with one another, and then plus the training we have now.
Do the local police monitor that phone, that communication,
No,
or?
not directly,
they'd
but
have
we
to be
can get to
called?
them. But we can get to them, and then certain people can hear all that conversation, be contacted quickly, or be dialed into that
I didn't know if they had a
frequency.
special red phone where they
Oh,
can.
there's a button on it.
Okay.
So, while you brought that local police thing up, Fred, I understand that, and I don't know the extent of it, I'm just asking, is football and basketball, and I'll be glad to stand corrected, they have police presence at their activities?
Some of the basketball, as we get into the middle school finals and playoffs, there's deputies at some of those games, the older children games. The
And
ninth
and football?
Football, it depends. It depends on the games and the locations and what we know our intel, but no, not all of the games, no.
So,
So the commissioners, when I came, that February in 18 or whatever that date was, about a safety plan, at the same time, then we came back in I think a following budget work session is when they allocated funds for traffic control coming out of, like, say, Dorsey, before the light, getting out of Chancellor's or getting some traffic there, and some trouble spots at some of the night games. And they allocated that money 3 or 4 years ago for deputies, law enforcement.
and what about our beaches? Sometimes we have police presence at our beaches too?
When we
Maybe
send-
busy weekends or, you
Yeah,
know?
when we sense, we will bring that in, and that'll come out of that account as well. But and they're very responsive. 'Cause-
And I'm sure that's also like on their route, because they, their patrol, I'm sure they know, hey, it's beach season, it's going to be crowded down there, so I'm sure they make a stop there.
Yeah, they do. They're very responsive in a lot of different ways. And then, there's neighbors too. But the other one is this year, I think we're right at our allocation. So then I'm not asking for more. So next year, if we get where our allocation goes, the commissioners, that public safety issue isn't an issue. I'm sure they'll be behind that if needed.
What is that allocation?
$35,000 annually for everything.
And that's basically for safety reasons and so on.
Special events, big events, some nighttime games, troubled spots, places
Have a history? Yeah,
visiting team per se.
yeah.
Well, and that's off-duty officers. They're not on duty at that. I mean, clearly we're paying their time at that point. Or
Right, that allocate, that,
You're not double dipping, and you're not taking them from
Community
community
service.
service.
that's right.
at those
Yeah.
events.
No, that's,
Yeah,
that-
it's a special allocation.
Crossing guard,
Correct.
Yeah.
something,
It's a special allocation, I think you're saying, by the commissioners for that function.
funded through the Department of Recreation and Parks. Sheriff's Office pays, then there's a journal entry, then we put the money back into their account. We reimburse.
Makes sense.
Good questions.
All right. Everybody good on county field maintenance plan? All right, let's move on to alternate meetings. I'll take this one. It is just that if there's other meetings that, people have, if we can be included in it or invited, or let them know, hey, there's going to be a meeting of the County Volleyball Association if you guys like to attend.
I don't even know if I know all the meetings. Yeah, the
just-
best we
just so-
can on that.
So if somebody wants to go to it, we can go to it and.
Yeah, and remember, those meetings those are even different than here.
Right.
Let's take this isn't a public forum. The public attends and are welcome, and then they're only recognized if by the chair.
Right.
The meetings, those would be, we could close them.
Free-for-all.
We could close them,
Right.
but we don't. But those are definitely no participation. Those are meetings of the called people of the league. So if you have a volleyball meeting,
Right.
it's for the volleyball people. But
Okay.
we don't ask people to leave if somebody's, so we don't do that. But it's even different than this one.
Yeah. We're referring to like ones like you get invited to, like if the Little League wants you to come and talk to you about it, if we could be there also. Just
Well,
to-
that you would have to ask the, on that one, you would have to ask the host.
Thing itself, okay.
Little League would be inviting me. Now, if the county invites the volunteers to come, we don't ask people not to come. But if we have to set it and say, hey, it'd be like a departmental staff meeting. That, hey, there's a staff meeting. Hey, you want to hear our staff meeting? You
Can I get enough for that?
You really want to do that? But okay, so there's nothing here because we like to be above board, but it certainly wouldn't be any participation. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Mr. Chairman, if I could go back for just 1 second, there is one other question I left out, and that has to do with the dragging of fields at our elementary schools that are used for and our middle schools. It's my understanding that other than Rexham Park staff, it's the only people that can drag those fields. Up until Joe and I had a conversation but up until this point, they can't be dragged by coaches of the programs.
I think that's the case. I think that
And I was curious as to I know it was allowed, I'll use the word back in the day, meaning my day, okay? But then for some reason, it's changed, and now Mr. Watson has said as long as it's like after 4:30, I believe, correct, Joe?
yeah, they just don't want to they want to make sure there's no
Yeah, right.
that they just don't want
Yeah.
random people showing up on
That they
on school.
can be given permission to do it again. Why was that stopped during whatever period, maybe before you were director or whatever the case would be? Do you know why it might have been stopped or anything?
Well, allowing the leagues and the individuals coming on?
Yeah.
Just for probably most likely that reason. Decorum, when they were coming, some were different than others. So when you say recreation and park staff, there's that accountability thing. And I'm not belittling anybody, any volunteer, but as when you're the host person. But I think they work through all that now, correct, Joe?
Yeah.
If there was any anxiety, I
And
think it was just
don't know
anxiety.
I don't know when, where, why,
No.
but it probably was one event
Something happened.
where someone showed up.
Yeah.
And that just led to, that's sometimes unfortunately how those things typically work, but
Didn't put something back and said, hey, let's just allow it that way.
So what you're suggesting, there was pushback at some particular time, and
I don't know.
I don't
I'm
know
just saying, my just being around as long as I have, more than likely something happened at one location one time that made someone question, why is this person doing this in the middle of the day? There's kids going in and out for
Gym class.
and I don't know. I don't know that. I'm just saying it's very likely that's what happened.
That
And
would be my
sometimes
likely
when those
answer,
events
too.
happen, they just put a shut on everything.
Yeah.
But
Until they
real
got a
quick
call.
question. Now that we know there's a risk, does the county have to assess that like they did with the,
We've been assessing that for 50 years.
I know, but we had to assess the one out at the golf course, the risk out at the golf course for the golf carts. They assessed that, and does that put the county on a bigger? Okay.
No, because nobody's brought that up through the county or the
I was just
risk
going by what
management
happened
office.
at the golf course
Yeah.
with that,
And
with the golf carts
that makes
and all
sense that now,
Okay.
to answer your question. Speaking of school fields, just for information's sake, staff will be out. So I've been working on this, staff's going out this weekend to do school fields because we can make better time that way. So we'll be out this weekend. We did get another piece of machinery, and with one of our seasonalists come by so that our fields will be drug more often this year. It won't be daily, but it'll be more often.
Along with the schools?
Yeah, based on the equipment we have and utilizing a better schedule with what we currently have.
So, and I understand that Rex and Parks would take care of the facilities ahead of the season, and then if it were needed to be dragged in between the season, then they would be asked to have maintenance people come, through Tyrone or whoever, Copsey, I don't know
Right.
what the mechanics of that to go back in there and service those fields again.
Yeah, we're
Where-
going to be in there more this year than ever in the past, put it to you like that.
Why do you say that? I mean, I'm just, you're saying the maintenance crew can be in there more than they were in the past, or? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, great. I'm sure they'd be glad to hear that.
Okay, we good? All right, next
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Director.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate all the time.
All right, next on the agenda is disc golf. I assume Mr. Adam Neal and Mr. Jerry Honus are there. Come on up, have a seat.
Where we want you.
So wherever you want, it's your place. Welcome. Presentation's coming up, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Jerry Hannes.
I'm Adam Neal. I'm the chairperson for the Southern Maryland Disc Golf Association and the St. Mary's County representative.
So we're here today to give you a little bit of an introduction about the sport and our organization, the Southern Maryland Disc Golf Association, and how we are operating on St. Mary's facilities and our relationship with Rec and Park. And I think disc golf is a little bit of a niche sport still, but is anybody familiar with it? Okay, so what I'll call ball golf, instead we use Frisbees. And it pretty much works the same way as ball golf. You're throwing a Frisbee instead of swinging a club at a ball. And your object is to score out each hole by finishing your throw inside of what we call a basket, sometimes referred to as a target. You proceed through the course, and whoever has the lowest throws after completing all 18 holes is doing better than the other people who are having not as good as time as not as good of time as you. So, who plays disc golf? Everybody. All ages, gender, economic status, it doesn't matter. Disc golf is a very affordable sport thanks to the majority of courses being installed in public parks. We can go on to the next slide, please. So some statistics recently, the sport has really taken off over the period of pandemic over the past 2 years, being relatively safe from spreading the disease. Players could go out to a course and, play with their friends, safe, socially distant, by themselves, pretty much any time of day. And since most 55% of the courses are in public parks, there's no tee time, registered tee time to play. You just go
Show and go.
when you can. So over the past 2 years, just the statistics that you're seeing here, 5.28 courses built every day in 2021. Like I said, 55% of them are on public property and 90% are free to play. There is a very popular Android app known as UDisc, where all these statistics are generated from. And we're even generating these statistics from the UDisc app at the Lexington Manor Park that we currently play at. Next slide. So, as I mentioned, we are both directors on the Southern Maryland Disc Golf Association. I'd like Adam to tell us a little bit more about who we are.
We are an organization of disc golfers formed to represent the collective disc golf interest within the Southern Maryland region. We were formed in 2010, and we primarily represent, but not limited to, members residing in Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's County. We are a 501c4 nonprofit corporation organized and operated exclusively for charitable purposes. And last year, we had a membership of 155 men, women, and children as old as 13 and as young as 71. And one of our members won their divisional world championship in 2021. There's regional courses right now, Lexington Manor and Lexington Park, Turkey Hill and La Plata, a couple private courses in Calvert, Saber's Edge, Windy Hill, and Melamar. Ward Park is being developed, and Snow Hill Park is, they're looking at putting a disc golf course there as well.
Excuse me, what does, on a private course that you have to pay to play, what are the fees usually for that?
At Melamar, it's $5 a round.
Yeah.
It's at their golf course. So if you want to use a golf cart, you have to pay additional to use the golf cart as well. I typically walk the course, so I'm not really sure how much. I think it was.
And you said it's part of their golf course, or it is their golf course too?
So yeah, Melamar is it's at Melamar Golf Park, so it is a golf course, and there is a course that plays alongside the holes.
Cool.
Yeah, the disc golf course is integrated in with the ball golf course, and when we're playing, we are alternating and taking turns, being aware of our surroundings.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd rather get hit by a Frisbee than a...
I don't know. Some of these Frisbees are very
that's true.
sharp-edged.
Yeah.
And people are, the top touring professionals are able to throw them at speeds upwards of 60 miles per hour and above, throwing them up to 600 feet in one throw.
Wow.
So in disc, it's a good point. In disc golf, we measure our holes in feet instead of yards. Where I think it's been a long time since I played regular golf. I think is an average hole length is between 300 and 400 yards for a par 3. Is that right? Our average par 3 hole length is 300 feet. Yeah. So the other courses, the other private courses in Calvert County, what we consider private, are actually installed on private landowners' backyards. Some beautiful property in Calvert County that the owners are also
So
Southern
those
Maryland.
are free too, you just can't show up, you gotta let them, you almost have to have a tee time. Right?
So they are members of our organization, and yes, we talk to them before we go play, and sometimes they allow us to host our events there.
Awesome.
Speaking of events, when we host events, our events are usually 72 players per day, sometimes more. That typically comes out to 4 players per hole, so 4 times 18. And when we host our tournaments, we are partnering with the community and various charities. And typically, we always try to associate our events with a charity. Some of the charities that we've partnered with are the Humane Society. We've raised $3,500 for the Humane Society. The local, I think it's called the Mission Seeking Shelter. I'm sorry if I'm saying the name wrong. We've raised about $6,000 for them, and we're very proud of over 10 years of being associated with a yearly event in the disc golf world called the Ice Bowl event, which is a series of tournaments throughout the country in the winter months. And the purpose of that series is to raise money for local food banks, and we've been able to raise $24,000 and 4,300 pounds of food over the past 10 years. The majority of that has been raised at formerly the course known as Hot Shots, which is now the Lexington Manor Disc Golf Course. So we're very proud of that, and we really appreciate everything that the county has done to assist us in achieving that. Some upcoming events that we're going to be involved in the Cherry Blossom Festival on site at the Lexington Manor Passive Park, and we have weekly leagues starting up for anybody who could possibly be watching this and interested in coming out to play disc golf and learn how to play it. We're going to be starting that up at Lexington Manor it's the first Thursday after the clocks change. We start at 5:30.
Now, if there is somebody watching this that wants to play,
Yes.
obviously they'd contact you, but I'm sure not everybody has the equipment. Do you guys have anything that, like at a golf course, you have a rental set of clubs? Do you guys have anything like that where?
We don't have any rental sets of clubs, but it's kind of like Pokemon. Every disc golfer wants to have all the discs. Yeah. So we always have extra. Just come on out and we'll hand you a couple discs and you can play along with us.
Awesome.
And also, I think on the last slide, which we don't have to go to now, but you can get equipment locally at Mike's Bikes, Dick's Sports, or there is an online store located, I think, in Charles County, the Disc Golf Vault, and they will ship to you. So let's talk a little bit more about the awesomeness that is Lexington Manor Passive Park. And we really want to say thank you to everything that St. Mary's County has put into the new course. Could we go back to slide 6, please? Thank you. So previously known as Hot Shots, Hot Shots was opened in September of 2009, where the old flat tops used to be in the old Lexington Manor community. And then when the pandemic was just getting started, the county decided to reuse or repurpose the land that the course was on for a homeless refuge away from the disease, and the entire disc golf community embraced that. We thought that was awesome, and we were proud that the county felt that that land that we all take ownership of as players was a prime spot and a safe spot for that to occur. I think that lasted for about 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then in the middle of summer 2020, the course reopened, and myself and other members of the Southern Maryland Disc Golf Association, we met with Mr. Art Shepard and Roy Copsey, and we began to, and I think here too, we got involved with the master plan for the Lexington Manor Passive Park upgrades. And we have now developed and opened the new course design, and it's awesome. What's new about it? We got new concrete tee pads, and concrete tee pads are the way to go. We're going to have 3 baskets thanks to sponsorships by the Lexington Park Lions Club. And that means that players of any ability, any age, will be able to step up to the disc golf course and be able to play the course according to their own skill level, which is pretty much unprecedented in Maryland, to have the 2 concrete tees and 3 baskets on one public course. That's really awesome. So we're really excited for that. We're expecting all of this to be in place by the Cherry Blossom Festival, and we can't wait to show the public what the county has to offer in store for disc golf.
Awesome.
So If you have any questions, be honored to answer.
I'll just say, I checked it out yesterday because my daughter had lacrosse practice. One, I didn't realize how big the entire, park is, including, how many acres is? 80. I was amazed at how big. I was going to walk more of it than I was able to do. But I did go check out the disc course. And one of the cool features is they have the barcode. You scan the barcode and you pull up the whole, course on your phone. So it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, so the T sign that you saw there, that is temporary. There will be, the Southern Maryland Disc Golf Association is sponsoring the installation of 6x6 posts with 2-foot signs mounted to them. We're trying to get, I'll call it a drone video, but it might not be a drone video. The permanent T signs will be, there will be a flyover video per fairway on the new T signs. So instead of getting the map on your phone, you'll be able to scan the T sign with your phone and see a drone flyover of the.
That's high tech.
Yeah.
Need that at Wycomico Shores.
Maybe I can find a ball.
So your board, how many people are on your board?
7.
7? And how often do you meet?
We've been trying to meet once a month, typically in the second week of each month. We have a public meeting every 3 months to allow our entire membership body to know what's going on in the public with what we're trying to do with future events and improvements. In between meetings, we have a improvement committee and we have a underserved populations committee. The underserved populations committee is geared towards trying to get more youth involved and to try to get more elderly to come out and more women to enjoy the sport because it's a very accessible sport for all sorts of individuals. The course improvement committee, they go over reviewing all the courses and what we can do to improve them if we need to clean up an area because maybe some people have discarded stuff not necessarily where they should be. We can take that on, or if we need to reach out to the county about cleaning up a fallen tree, or if there's something that might be a danger to a participant, that committee usually handles things like that.
So you just had an event a couple weeks ago, and I understand it was like a couple hundred people there. Is that a wrong number, a right number, or what?
I'm pretty sure that's a wrong number.
You think it's a wrong number?
Yeah.
I'm talking spectators and whatever. That's
At the St. Mary's course at Lexington Manor?
I was just told you had one a few weeks ago, and maybe it's a month ago, I don't know.
So I think 3 weeks ago, we had our local chapter of the Ice Bowl, the food bank charity event. We had 43 players at that, but we raised $1,000 on that day.
I don't think I wasn't just talking about players. I was talking, but did you have other spectators out also or anything, or? I'm giving you an opportunity to goose the thing up here. Come on.
We're not that good.
Okay.
So in April 24, we have scheduled with the county a professional event. That'll have 72 players. You're welcome to come out and spectate. Generally, the events at our level do not have spectators.
Well, that's the second invitation I got, because when he was looking at me, he said about the elderly, and he didn't say that when he said no. So that's the second invitation I got, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is there anything out there, from, is there, like, for these food courts or something like that, these trucks that go around, is there any accommodation for something like that when they have events?
So at our April 24th event, we are planning to have a food truck come in to serve for lunch. And at our April 24th event, all 72 players will be playing 2 rounds. They'll play a morning round, and then we'll have an hour lunch break, and then we'll have an afternoon round. And in
because
between, we have a food
You
truck.
answering that in a positive, obviously, I have more interest in coming out and watching and eating something than I do.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so Days Off Deli food truck will be on site for us, and growing up in near Philadelphia, that's who I always ask first, because the cheesesteaks are fantastic.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say about the April 24th event, we have there's professional players that are coming from the region to play that event, and some of the top players in our area.
How many days is that, that event?
This year, it's going to be one event.
One day.
Sorry, yeah, one day. The board has discussed about trying to make it a multi-day event in the future. This year, we were really geared towards just having an event and welcoming everyone to the new course design. And but hopefully next year we'll be able to make it a 2-day event.
In that competition, the competition, can they win anything financially by what's going on? You have professionals coming
Yeah,
in.
so the professionals will be awarded cash. If
Does that come from entry revenue, or how does that work?
it comes from entry revenue and whole sponsorships, and sometimes we have event sponsorships. So there's different levels of events, and this year the event's going to be a C tier. If we were to have a higher tier event, then there's a commitment of sponsorship money, and then the higher tier events also tend to attract even better pros from a wider area.
So what's your expectations from people pre-registering, coming in and stuff? And
So-
do you solicit any hotels where they can stay, that type of thing, while they're in town? Give them any information along those lines?
So I think next year that will be a course of action for us. This year, our event, so it was capped at 72 players. So we reserved 62 spots for amateur players, which is the average field size for an amateur event in our area. And the amateur field, 62 players, the registration filled, all 62 spots filled in about 24 hours. So we're looking at expanding that next year into multiple days to allow more participants to come and play.
Well, I know I'd be interested, I don't know about any other members, I'd be interested in being made aware when you're having the public meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, to attend, to see what's going on, I guess.
Excellent. Yes.
Okay? You let the board know, or director know, Ms. Bishop, they can be communicated to us.
Can do.
Yep, we'd be happy to have you.
She's smiling because it gives her another job. Thank you very much, Donald.
Anybody have any more questions? Or you guys do?
You're all welcome to come out and play with us Thursdays once the clocks change at 5:30, and there's usually a group of people playing at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning.
Thanks.
Nice walk outside.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Very good. All right, next on the agenda, we have the online field reservation process. I think this was yours, Joe.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with the group. I attended the baseball, softball league leaders meeting a couple weeks ago, and we received the presentation for the new online field reservation process. So I just wanted to make sure that the community was aware, the board was aware that that's a new system that's up and running. I've been on the opposite side of reserving a field. It's pretty user-friendly to do. And so, of course, with any implementation of a new system, there's going to be the hiccups that come along the way. But it's up and running, and it's working, and hopefully it'll, I think more than anything else, provide good feedback back to the department on exactly what is being used and not being used and how often and so forth. So it should be a great resource moving forward as it gets going. So that was all. Just wanted to
Yeah,
share that with you.
Mr. Chairman, I made the same presentation, was made with me on the 7th with the field organizers, and It was very, very well received, I think, by those attending, and I think if anything, if there's an opportunity for the board to be shown that, at the next meeting maybe or whatever, as to exactly how it works. It might be prudent for us to see as a group.
Okay. Awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Anybody have questions? All right, next is the Snow Hill Draft Master Plan. I think Christine has this one, I think. Is this all you, Christine?
Okay. Just left this up front. There are paper copies for anybody that wants them.
Yep.
I didn't get a copy of that. Could I get a copy of it? Do you have another copy?
So our current status here, and I don't know why I'm having such a difficult time with things on the screen, so I apologize, but current status here, we have received the final draft of our master plan, currently going through and reviewing the plan. So the goal today is to give you an introduction to where we are and what the expectations are, and then in April, look for adoption by the board and giving your concurrence to move forward with the master plan. We're also
Christie, does that mean that they're going to get the entire plan before April, correct?
Yes, and I apologize for that. I will tell you, the plan is very large. I tried to email it.
Too big?
It's too big, so I will have copies have to be printed at the office for pickup or arrange another way to get copies.
And we can mail them. We have everybody's address on our roster, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll mail them out to you, so you'll have them at least a couple weeks before the next meeting.
And of course, we've talked about this quite a bit, but simultaneously, we are working on the design and engineering for the boat and kayak launch at Snow Hill. So that is also still going through. I don't know why I can't shrink this. Here we go. Much better. So this is just a little bit in background information for you about the purchase of Snow Hill. I know there's a few new board members. Total purchase price was $1.8 million. No county funding was involved in the purchase. It was a partnership between Maryland Department of Natural Resources, local program open space and stateside open program space, but then also the U.S. Navy's REPI program, which is the Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration. Because of the use of REPI funds, there is a conservation easement on Snow Hill Park, which gives some specific restrictions, prohibitions, permitted uses, and what kinds of structures and such can be placed onto that property. Passive recreation is low-impact activities, and then your active recreation is more outdoor organized sports. In the conservation easement, it says that we could have active recreation at Snow Hill Park, up to 50% of the land area. However, through the community stakeholders meetings, it was definitely determined that the community was much more interested in maintaining a passive park experience there. So you're going to see, as I go through the slides, a much more passive experience at Snow Hill.
Let me jump in real quick. So the community stakeholder team, we put out an announcement for that. So they came in and joined with us with the design team, 3 or 4 meetings looking at it and making recommendations that we then went to a public group at Hollywood and Recreation Center in October. And then now putting all those things together, the different recommendations with community stakeholders, the public, we're working with the design team. Now we're coming saying, all right, here, commissioners, we're going to give you a draft. We're going to give the board a draft, and then we're going to hear from you to give our final when we go to the commissioners with the master plan.
So the master plan summary, it will include information, just like Mr. Shepherd said, about the community stakeholders meetings and what we brought to the public. But the beginning of it is going to be existing conditions. So this is going to discuss all the critical area, the wetlands, the steep slopes and soils, any of the special habitats in the area. It'll contain our park vision, which is to provide the citizens with recreational activities and beach and water access. Again, talking about the public involvement that was involved in the planning of the concepts and design. And then a very specific phased concept design, which includes a variety of amenities. Quite a few studies and surveys were done during the master planning process. There was studies as to the historical significance of the property and the buildings on the property, an extensive archaeological study. We're getting ready to do some environmental studies. In the master plan, you'll see a section on planning around predicted sea level rises as well as our carbon footprint. There were studies for the depth in the water with regards to any dredging that may need to be done for the boat ramp. So there was quite a bit of studies that went into, and those results came out with how and where specific things should be located within the property.
What is bathymetric?
That is the dredging study,
Okay.
to see the depths of the water throughout the area of where the boat ramp will be and close nearby. Some of the proposed amenities, not everything is in here, but obviously we have the main attraction of the beach there. First priority is that boat ramp and kayak launch that are currently being developed, picnic areas, playgrounds, an agricultural education center, educational gardens, obviously restrooms. We all have had lots of discussions of the importance of restrooms. A hammock grove, which is one of my personal favorites. A wedding venue, a disc golf course, possible ropes course, nature trails, wetland trails, and a living shoreline. And I'm going to go down to a map. You guys have actually seen this. I brought this concept design before, but it gives you some ideas of the phased out development of the park. Over towards the right, you see towards the Patuxent, you see the red dotted lines. Those are all wetland trails with a living shoreline, possible beach expansion. You can come down the beach, you see where there's potential for the wedding venues, a visitor center, overlook. So those were all placed into different phases, which will be spelled out in that master plan for you to see. The phases outside of the boat launch and the kayak launch are not prioritized. They are just in groupings that make sense for the areas in the development.
The big areas looped in orange, what is that? I'm not located.
Those are trails.
Pardon?
That's the horse trail.
Trails.
Horse trail.
Okay, uh-huh.
The kayak launch, are they able to get out to the main body of water that way, or are they?
No, it's strictly in Roslyn Creek. Now, you can
Okay.
pick up your kayak and
Drag it out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how is that going to be handled, the horse trail and so, I mean, is that going to be people outside of the Rexham Parks
Yeah,
system, I guess? I don't know how.
my thoughts are though, what they're going to be, and it's going to be during designated time periods, so that you can control that and control your activities. So let's say early Saturday mornings in the summer, 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then when your beach crowd and your other people in the activities, because there's going to need to be trailer room for them as well. And that's really what it is. It's a place for people that have them but don't get the spaces that want to be involved in trail riding and do that. But it'll probably be more during preferred times, and we'll work on that as far as operational. Good question.
I think it's a great amenity, to be very honest with you.
Yeah. Got to have somewhere to take the
Interesting.
horses.
So again, when you get a copy, the full copy of the master plan, you'll see some examples, some photographs of different examples through other areas, and obviously a better description than the brief overview I'm giving you now.
Okay.
Timeline, we brought it here for you today. In April, again, hoping to answer any other questions you have about the project and get your concurrence with the plan. And then in April or May, Arthur will be taking and presenting to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County for their approval and adoption of the document. And that is your quick overview of Snow Hill.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody
And
have
then
any
again, you'll be getting it in the mail. It's a large document. And then for me, the thing is that I appreciate that about the horses, some of the good amenities, but also be thinking about, we like to hear because another group, you're not only on the board, but you're a user group. So what on there looks like it can conflict? What some of the areas aren't clear? What is the appropriate use? So those questions will be very good to us at that point before we have our final recommendation. So I look forward to your feedback.
Yeah, I think I was asking that question because, how are, who's going to be in charge of the stables and so on?
I don't think there'll be stables, right? I think it'll just,
They trailer them in,
they'll have to trailer them in, and they park there, and then they ride them, they put the horses back on the trailer. There's not going to be stables. It's not a
No,
permanent.
we're not doing that in the beginning. Now, that could be, but again, with REPI, you have density and what buildings can be there. But but right off the bat, it's trailered horses coming in and have the benefit of getting some trail time.
So people are going to bring their horses to the park?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll need a parking area too, and then also the safety and people in the trail. So designated times is where we're going to
I think
start,
that'd be best. Yep. I
and we can manage that.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the alcohol permit for St. Mary's Clement Island Museum for the Friends of St. Mary's County Island Museum and PPLM. What's PPLM?
Piney Point Lighthouse Museum.
Piney Point Lighthouse Museum. It's for a wine and art fest on April 9th. It is for the consumption of alcohol, but not the sale of alcohol.
Correct.
So do I have a motion to approve the request, the application?
Well, what does that mean? They bring their own alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, the host provides it, but there's no, but
All right.
there's
sale.
no sales. It's just a,
I make a motion that we approve the permit for the April 9th, 2022.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, I will sign this.
thank you.
One last thing on here is we have a recognition for a Mr. Bowen Plague. Is that what I'm saying?
Plaguey.
Plaguey. All right, we would like to congratulate Bowen Plaguey for signing in February a contract with the Chicago White Sox minor league program. Bowen played Little League in our own St. Mary's County as a graduate of Leonardtown High School. He played high school baseball for the Raiders, participated in St. Mary's American Legion program, and played for Townsend State University in their Division I baseball program, and also attended St. Mary's College of Maryland. He graduated from Auburn in 2021. His American League experience while playing American League baseball, he was on the State Junior Legion Championship team for 2014 and the Senior Legion runner-up team for the state championship in 2016. For service, while completing his community service to earn his distinction as an Eagle Scout, he constructed the roofing for the dugouts on the 90-foot diamond at Cecil Park. So congratulations to Bowen and his family. We wish him all the best as he pursues his passion for baseball at the next level. Good job, good local story.
Yeah. Congrats.
All right, anybody have any last-minute stuff? Oh, by the way, is anything? Oh, you got a
So
finger up.
there is a new agenda item on each agenda now, and it is literally agenda and follow-up items for the next meeting to help me keep it organized. So I just want to recap, the only thing I heard from you this evening that you already have planned for the next meeting is hopefully a demonstration of the field registration process.
Yep, that's all I have.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thanks, everybody.
So